Hi, welcome to our channel of IGNOU audiobooks, Indira Gandhi National Open University, School of Engineering and Technology, SOET, Certificate Programs Postgraduate Certificate in Industrial Safety, PGCINDS, MIS 0 to 1 Safety Philosophy and Principles of Accident Prevention, Block-1 Introduction to Industrial Safety, Unit-1 Basic Concept of Industrial Safety. 1.1 Introduction. Study of history reveals that dating back from the age of ancient civilizations, in Egypt and Rome it has been a long journey for safety management system. Time and again there has been delayed recognition of the importance of safety and health at the place of work. In recent times remarkable developments in safety management have taken place. It has enabled industries to successfully reduce industrial injuries. Obviously, such turnaround in injury statistics has not taken place overnight. In the following section, a short review of the evolution of safety in the factories in India will be made to have an historical perspective of interplay of various factors in the safety management. In order to be familiar with where you are going, it is very imperative that you know where you have been. People devote a plenty of time on discovering current trends in the workplace, but they does not often look back and make efforts to find how work has evolved. The history of workplace safety is one such area that does not get adequate consideration. In this section, we will look at exactly how safety at workplace has enhanced over the period of time. Workplace safety started becoming matter of concerns in Europe country. With the labor movement while the Industrial Revolution was going on, workers and laborers started forming unions and began to demand for better working conditions during this movement. In response to this, the workplace was regulated and safer work practices were regulated by the government, organizations. Because maximum organizations were industry-oriented, industries established safety regulations independent of each other. This section will also cover how industries developed their safety standards. Starting in the late 1600s, shaft mining was in its increasing phase while the steam pump made it feasible to remove water from deep shafts. Whereas in 1770, steam engines turned out to be more proficient and fuel costs dropped, making mines to be more cost-effective. Mines at that time often hired children for working and were extremely dangerous. In those years, in addition to equipment accidents, miners confronted collapsing beams, suffocation, rock falls, and floods. In addition to these failures, poisonous and flammable gases were invisible dangers that could blast if ignited. As time went by, advances in technology controlled their way into the mining sector. In 1816, innovation of the safety lamps took place, and it helped in preventing ignition of harmful gases found in mines. More developments approached with the invention of electric lighting and battery-powered lamps. Additional new kinds of hazards began to present themselves when manufacturing units started employing workers to factories. Working in factories in that era was to spend long hours with poor ventilation and dangerous equipment. In 1784, poor working situations led the spread of a fever outbreak among cotton mill laborers in the United Kingdom. This ultimately led to the development of Health and Morals of Apprentices Act in the year 1802. This act made it compulsive for factories to arrange for appropriate ventilation and clean workplaces. Objectives. After studying of this unit, you should be able to identify the history and evolution of safety movements, identify efficient ways to recognize the procedures and activities that ought to be effective for governing the risks and improving performance. Employ essential theories and tools in order to plan and implement an effectual risk management system. Development of risk acceptance procedures. Gain knowledge of maintenance and turnaround. Understand the fundamentals of safety audits, accidental analysis and need for safety training. 1.2 History of safety movements. The history of safety movement can appropriately be said to parallel the history of man. The laws like survival of the fittest and the law of self-preservation generally overcame during the dark ages of early growth human being. His upward climb has sustained to be a challenge with danger the mind and persistence of man challenging with the situations and forces of nature. Conditions changed slowly at first, but as knowledge began growing, with ever-increasing speed. If we look back in past over the path man has journeyed, we treasure numerous milestones marking the way in the direction of safety, all bearing aim of same purpose conservation of life. Today also if we stand and look back we find the cave of ancient man, various abode of the cliff dweller, the medieval castle, and the block house mute confirmation of the mutual thought safety. The problem of safety transformed as the social order of civilization transformed and became more and more complex. In order to meet the mass element anticipated into the problem, today's generation have applied science, the arrangement and correlation of knowledge and engineering, the art of organizing and directing men and controlling the forces and materials of nature for the benefit of the human race. These are recognized as man's most effective assistances of conservation. Safety has turned out to be a vital feature of all phases of life. An ever-growing burden was retained upon manpower as industries started developing, multiplying and expanding into individual scale. The engineer too, the call and established engines and complicated machines, lifted man to a higher plane, multiplied his powers 1,000-fold, and was able to create a new era for this world. This new era, however, was troubled with countless, different and unexpected hazards as consequences of evolution, and once more man exhorted the engineer to safeguard him against the vulnerabilities happening due to these invented engines and machines that had aided in the escalation of his productive capability. It would be challenging to create a history of the safety movement in a rigorously sequential ground. Various industries have planned out their individual difficulties more or less coherently. With the ever-growing industries in today's modern times comes numerous invisible hazards and threats to workers' life for which there came need and development for accident prevention methods in many plants of the industry in the year 1900. The focusing of thought and purpose upon the expansion of this phase of plant management discovered the fact that, as we had been inattentive in preserving and protecting our minerals, forests, and other natural resources, so had we been woefully wasteful of the lives and limbs of our industrial workers. We began to realize that this annual toll of life was not an excusable necessity we had believed it to be, but that, by the proper application of systematized effort purpose in addition to money remarkable drops in accident rate could be achieved. World War II broke out during 1939 to 45. During wartime, the government relaxed application of the Factories Act to gear up production so as to meet requirements during the war. In the development, safety took a backseat. Hectic production schedules and desperate attempts to meet the production deadlines at any cost led to many industrial accidents, especially incidents of fire with loss of life and property. In 1945, Government of India appointed a chief advisor of factories for advising the government on matters related to occupational safety and health including firefighting measures in industrial establishments. A review of the history of safety legislation reveals the role of certain forces in harnessing the cause of safety, role of management or owners. For years, the value of safety as well as health at the workplace was overlooked in the absence of any economic necessity to protect the life and health of workmen. However, cause of safety has drawn support from the management or the owners whenever they realize that the investment towards safety makes a good business sense. Management are found to be proactive about safety whenever they realize that a higher cost of premature replacement of equipment damaged or destroyed by accidents, b. prohibitive direct or indirect cost of compensation due to fatal or even non-fatal accidents, and c. severe penalty awarded for non-compliance is less economical. Investment on safety and health with the present compulsion to obtain ISO certification, which requires combination of occupational safety and health with quality and productivity, administration finds that occupational safety and health do make a good business sense. History also suggests that there are occasions when, to bring competitive parity among manufacturers, safety measures were demanded by a group of management to be imposed upon those manufacturers who did not care for those. Ultimately, whatever happened was indeed to the advantage to the cause of safety of the people, but in reality it was sheer business interest rather than human interest that prevailed upon in implementing safety in the industry. 2. Role of legislation. In most of the cases, significant advances in safety have taken place through legislative intervention. Safety legislation, to a vast extent, is engaged in an examination of the actual state of affairs within man-machine environment system to determine whether and to what extent modern technology can be accepted by law. The legal system can never abandon the life and the health of the citizens to the dangers inherent in modern technology. It must determine, as a reflection of the basic political decision as well, whether and to what extent modern technology can be accepted by law. Thus, the legal system constitutes the measures by which the political intent of the voter or citizens can shape the components of man-machine environment systems. Industrial health and safety laws and standards are constructed are based on technical approach to the management of occupational health and safety risk. Technical literature defines risk management as a three-staged process. First, hazards in the work atmosphere are recognized. Second, the risks posed by these hazards are evaluated. And finally, suitable controls for risks are carefully chosen according to a risk control hierarchy. According to the principle of this hierarchy, the control actions that mark hazards at their originating source and act on the work environment are more efficacious than controls that intends to change the behavior of exposed workers. Therefore, technological control procedures, like substitution of hazardous materials or procedures and engineering controls, are desirable to individual controls such as the beginning of safe work practices or the usage of personal protecting equipment. 3. Role of union activism. The legislative intervention is preceded by the union activism. In many countries, collective negotiating has played a crucial part in workplace safety enhancements for several years. Union encouragement has been exerted not only in direct negotiations but also through financing or supporting safety and health research, lobbying for safety and health legislation, and supporting liability suits filed by union members. 4. The role of technology. Technology has played a vital role in creating a need for extensive and dynamic safety program. Scientists and engineers have been continuously developing new equipment and process both for manufacturing as well as for protecting the workers from hazardous work environment. Personal protective equipment are made more comfortable and user-friendly to maintain the productive efficiency of the worker. In many places, robotic technology is used to ensure the safety and health of workers. Apart from the equipment and gadgets, technology for manufacturing goods or providing services, various innovative management technologies have been developed, tested and implemented to promote and sustain safety and health status of the working population in the world of work. The role of research. The research in the area of medical sciences, ergonomics, and industrial hygiene assisted in defining limits on exposures in those cases where complications may perhaps be evaded by restricting the amount or extent of exposure. More significantly, research continues to identify materials and byproducts. Those are irreversible in effect and in some cases carcinogenic. 6. The role of training. For doing the job efficiently and safely, it is essential that employees receive systematic training. Selecting qualified and well-trained personnel does not minimize the need for such training. Training imparted in safety, need not necessarily be termed as safety training and thereby create inhibition among employees towards such training due to the taboo attached to the concept of safety. Instead of professing safety as safe way of doing and thereby inducing a defensive stance, safety could be conceived as the right way of doing. As such, the purpose of the training is to educate employees about the correct way of doing the job. When such training is imparted, care is taken to produce goods or services ensuring quality, safety, customer delight, and minimizing damage or loss of any kind. 1.3 Evolution of modern safety concept. Concept of safety describes term safety as a state in which risk of harm to persons or property damage is reduced to and upheld at or below an acceptable level through a continuing process of hazard identification and risk management. The origin of Industrial Revolution raised filthy and harmful working conditions in many factories, conditions where employers were slow to address about the danger associated to them. Massachusetts legislators for the first time accommodated the nation's first safety and health legislation in 1877. This law necessitated diverse characteristics of safety precautions measures that we currently take for granted, especially guards for belts, gears and shafts, and efficient fire exits. As Industrial Revolution landed on U.S. shores, there was uncertainty that workers confronted new and exceptional dangers during that time. American entrepreneurs formulated labor-saving devices and machineries. Those were productive as well as profitable, but were very dangerous too. The bottom line was not affected by the workplace accidents, but victim workers used to opt for legal recourse by suing the company. Victim workers who went to court hardly won any case, indirectly making workplace safety a non-profit venture for numerous industrialists of that time. Workers working in the hazardous occupations like mining, train transportation, and manufacturing opted for insurance policies to cover themselves in the event of sudden accident or death, or by quitting a job completely. This resulted in companies reimbursing greater salaries to the workers for their jobs that were deemed more hazardous. The state of New York in 1910 made workmen's compensation law that enforced companies to automatically reimburse for workplace injuries that exterminated the requirement for relatives to take companies to court. By the year 1921, 43 more states started adopting this. New York's led and established their individual compensation laws, and other liability costs turned out to be an expensive proposition for workplace injuries for many industrialists. Due to this steady increase in workplace safety was recorded. Large firms like railroading, mining and manufacturing all of a sudden started becoming interested in safety at workplace. Manufacturing enterprises started developing safer equipment, and managers of many manufacturing industries started getting tasks for discovering workplace dangers. For instance, workers in mining and construction started wearing safety glasses and hard hats. The National Safety Council was formed in the year 1913 by a group of business owners to combine the collective information and to put this collected knowledge via national agencies like the Bureau of Mines. Incidents of tragedies in workplace declined unevenly between World Wars I and II, and it was eminent to note that during time of economic boom safety law prosecution be likely to take a back seat. With the expeditious growth of industrial civilization employed children, women, and immigrants into the labor force in large numbers. The Industrial Revolution and craving for mass production turned the workplace into a carnival of terrors. The days were long, wages were low, and work was generally unsafe. A novel methodology, called as Safety Management Systems, SMS, was developed regarding industrial workplace safety, whose main objective is to prohibit human trauma, death, and destruction to the environment. The emphasis of this methodology is based upon an intensive accident investigation succeeded by upgrading technology, operational processes, and advanced training. As can be seen in Figure 1.1, along with technical enhancements, the new focus is to include and alleviate human error and organizational factors by means of regulation and training. Lessons were learned from past event inspections and mishappening in other industries like in nuclear energy or space shuttle operation. 1.4 Design aspects for safe operation. The safety by means of design aspects is defined as the fusion of hazard analysis and risk estimation techniques right at the beginning of the design and engineering phases and undertaking the operations necessary so that risks of injury or damage can be minimized to a great extent. Design aspects play very important role in safety operations because it reduces risks and eliminates hazards during the course of life cycle of machinery, work sites, their related equipment, materials and work procedures comprising their construction, manufacture, use, repairs, and eventually dumping or reuse. Designers can conduct assessments that can aid in considerably lessening the threats to safety and health in the course of construction stage and through consequent utilization and maintenance. Thus, they can be entitled as a key contributor to the construction of health and safety. Safety and other associated parameters could be directly influenced by the professional designer. General principles of prevention must be taken into consideration by the designers while developing respective designs. The idea of prevention is mainly established for risk elimination and reduction. Safe design in industrial safety comprises the control measures that must be incorporated early in the design procedure in order to eradicate or, if it is not possible to eliminate the risk completely, then lessen the risks to health and safety through the life of the structure being designed. The main objective of safe design for safe operation is dependent upon the principle that each individual has a right and is ethical to be safeguarded and protected from uncalled risk of injury or harm. It anticipates with eradicating job-related safety health hazards at the design phase as well as governing risks associated with the design of structure and its after-use while planning and design of processes or systems, structures, organizations, products, etc. Risk of workers' death, accident, and inadequate design might result in variety of additional economic costs like decreased asset life, reduced efficiency, greater maintenance, and loftier employment and workers' reimbursement expenditures. It is more convenient to draw out hazards in the initial phase of design rather than to upgrade or transform the present products to accomplish safety. Safety and health regulation assign designers certain duties to, as far as achievable, remove or govern the associated hazards at the time of the construction, use and occupation of a workplace. Owners likewise hold the duty of care assurance for workers to guarantee that their employees are not exposed to threats and dangers linked to a building or structure to be used as a workplace as far as possible. Safe design of any desired workstation will always remain to be the driving segment of a broad spectrum with design goals comprising feasibility, aesthetics, cost, and usefulness. All these objectives sometimes need to be balanced in a proper way so that safety and health of workers is not compromised who are responsible for building, construction, maintenance, or utilizing the building as workplace. These sometimes competing objectives need to be balanced in a manner that does not compromise the safety and health of those who construct, maintain, or use a building or structure as a workplace. The safe design advantages include risk control and alleviate need for upgradation. A wide variety of participants engages themselves in this methodology. With discussion and communication with all the associated participants, the safe design elements can be improved prior to any actual construction. The safety aspects of a design can be enhanced prior to construction if a participative, risk management approach is adopted. A safe design technique commences with the idea progression stage of a construction while decisions are being made regarding the scheme and its end purpose, the required materials and its eventual utilization, available method of structure creation, its maintenance service, operation, disassembly and ultimately discarding, what safety regulations, codes of practice and available standards that must be taken into account and confirmed with ergonomics principles together with superior work design integrate and make a safer design for structures and industries. Generally, excellent work design makes sure about workstation-related vulnerabilities and dangers are evicted or reduced in a way that all workers and labor's safety is ensured, they remain healthy and safe at their working place. It basically comprises the design of workstations, functioning procedures, computer systems or manufacturing processes. On the other hand, when we talk about accomplishing safer and reliable design, its whole liability rests on the shoulders of those groups or individuals who regulates and governs the design functions. This generally embraces engineers, industrial designers or protractors are the responsible personas that take forward the design on the instructions of a client. Individuals who make design decisions during any of the life cycle phases such as engineers, manufacturers, suppliers, installers, builders, developers, project managers, and work health and safety professionals. Any person who modifies the available design. Service designers associated with the service of existing plants like ventilation and electrical systems, safer design for industries can be accomplished to a greater extent by common harmony of all the parties who are responsible for commanding and influencing the design outcome by incorporating safety provisions into the design. If we are considering design for any industrial plant, there are following things that should be considered while designing the plant. Figure 1.2, Safe Design Model. Including entire facets of life cycle of any manufactured component of plant beginning from manufacturing, then its utilization, to demounting and eventually discarding. Appropriate design for safe and sound assembly and its establishment. Designed to enable safe usage by considering, for example, the physical characteristics of users, the maximum number of tasks an operator can probably accomplish at a time, the layout of the workstation, environment in which the plant may be used. Estimate proposed utilizations well as reasonably predictable misuse, consider the complications workforces might face while delivering services or restoration of the plant. Assessment of failure ways or breakdown and restructuring and designing the plant to break down in a safe mode. The safe plant and equipment are capable of saving between 5 to 10% of their total cost by lowering inventories of dangerous materials, which leads to reduced requirement for protective equipment and therefore cost of testing and maintenance of the equipment is brought down to a considerable amount. Huge costs might have to be borne due to unsafe design like re-equipment, workers' reimbursement and insurance charges, eco-friendly cleanup, and negligence claims. Since inflated prices directly affects the life cycle of persons who purchase and utilize such products, so these persons get benefits from safe designs. A safe design methodology outcome can be many, including following: inhibit injury and sickness, elevated exploitation of products. Systems and facilities improves efficiency, cut down prices, superior forecast, systematizes production and functioning expenditures over the life cycle of a product, abide by legislation, invent, for which safe design calls for new and innovative thinking. 1.5 Maintenance and turnaround. Manufacturing companies generally runs process management that involves maintaining, repairing and installing of the machine and equipment. The performance and competitiveness of manufacturing companies is dependent on the reliability and productivity of their production facilities. This necessitates the demand for enhancing the production system's excitation that has brought forth the maintenance functions into the spotlight. In order to provide superior quality as well as prompt services to the consumers and be in top position in terms of competition, factors like equipment maintenance and system reliability plays very important role. For that reason, sustainable performance of any industry indirectly relies on the maintenance management. Maintenance generally encompasses all the aspects related to technical and Administrative operations, those are generally imperative to keep equipment, installations, and additional associated physical resources in the desired operating condition or reconstruct them back to the running condition in case of failure. The main targets associated with maintenance are to accomplish production target with the desired quality on time and be within the decided limits of system condition as well as safety. The maintenance supervisors should keep few main objectives in mind, like assuring proper system functioning, taking care of safety-related issues, ensuring system life, and lastly safeguarding human well-being. Further, maintenance assets are exercised thoroughly in order to keep a check on the running conditions of the manufacturing equipment. Also, whether plant has attained its design life or not, safety standards are met or not, and to keep a note on raw material consumption. If any company or industry does not hold well-maintained equipment, then that particular plant will find it difficult in providing higher quality products delivered on time to the market, resulting in decrement in customer values in terms of profit, quality, time and service. A proficient human resource team with highly qualified personnel in any manufacturing and maintenance departments holds a very prominent position and is considered as very influential factor for conducting a successful maintenance processes. Around 56% of the accidents taking place are associated with machineries and devices of plants linked with running elementary manufacturing operations. Whereas other processes like preparation of production for providing smooth flow involving operations like maintenance, repairing, controlling, cleaning, installing, formulating and dismantling machines accounts for approximately 25% altogether. Investigation studies for the years from 2004 to 2010 indicates that all the accidents occurred during these years were due to inappropriate condition of material object as well as improper operation of machines and devices. By utilizing risk management system, it was made possible to improve safety of workstation by utilizing machines and devices which resolved issues associated with excessive utilization, insufficient maintenance, and repairs. Repair word encloses all the organizational and technical actions whose main aim or goal is to retrofit or repair the breakdown machine by making the machine in the state of usable condition. All the results of breakdown machines are transmitted to technical maintenance subsystem whose main aim is to either to eradicate breakdown machines' unfitness or to conduct some severely required maintenance operations to repair the machine back to its original running condition. Thus, we can define the word repair as a process whose main aim is to convert the machine's unfitness into the state of fitness prior to breakdown. While considering physical side of repair, it embraces with replacement of components or parts of machine that are damaged, changing the impaired part, or restoring is by conducting a number of other necessary operations. Repair process of a machine is generally conducted at regular interval of time for checking the status of machine fitness. Periodical repairs generally aim at bringing back the machine to the original form once it has performed its desired operations and number of runs, its total working hours, as well as volume of work it has accomplished, assessment of its technical condition on the basis of diagnostic report. As soon as technical parameters or economic indicators are perceived, it indicates machine's unfitness or improperness in its functioning. Repair of machine is generally of two types in nature: periodical or ad hoc. Periodical repairs generally embrace day-to-day repairs, medium repairs, and overhauls, whereas the ad hoc repairs are generally aimed at bringing back the machine to its original state of fitness which was lost due to some mishappening such as an emergency damage, an accident, etc. These are also termed as post-failure repair. Whereas on the other hand, maintenance is a process that is responsible for cutting down the wear-out dynamics of mechanisms, subassemblies or other components of a machine. Various operations like general external visual inspection, initial cleaning, inspection of technical condition of machine, its protection against corrosion, checking lubrication of various parts and mechanisms in line with relative instructions. Maintenance operations are carried out during technical maintenance technical inspections, and repairs. Using the criterion of time, we can distinguish between short-term maintenance, up to 1 year, and long-term maintenance, more than 1 year. The scope and frequency of conducting technical treatments and/or technical maintenance operations are prescribed in relative provisions for each type of maintenance. On the other hand, installing machines and devices covers such operations as transporting them, internal transport, maneuvering, placing on their base plates, fixing, cabling, piping, adjusting, making trial runs, and checking the machine's operation with no load. Apart from installing machines or facilities, we also have to do here with deinstalling them before they are relocated to another site or scrapped. Besides, design and manufacturing of the machine is based in such a way that it should perform its prescribed functions with all the safety measures, keeping in mind that it can be operated, adjusted, and maintained by the operator without any hazardous to the operator under all the conditions, though it is handled in an improper way, as referred in both machinery directive and also in ordinance. Also, machine should be used in such a way to eliminate risk for the entire lifetime of the machine, which also includes its assembly, dismantling, transport, stoppage, and during scrapping stages. Further, the manufacturer should also point out the vital measures such as types and schedules of inspections with maintenance procedure to be taken during the operation in the operation manual. Also should be including the wearable parts and its replacement after it is being worn out. The replacement procedure with the new ones for the worn-out parts with easiest and safer manner should also be included in the manual. The obligatory technical measures compliant to the method of action for the replacement of necessary parts must also be available. Furthermore, the display of the safety, maintenance, and the adjustment procedures should be provided away from the hazardous zones. Manufacturers should also take the possibility of carrying out the maintenance, repairing, cleaning, and other necessary actions for when the machine is in not working for both automatic as well as for other machines too should be provided by the manufacturer in order to diagnose the machine's defects. The company management plays an active role in deciding its machinery's operation and its fitness to achieve optimum effects. The optimization criterion which is most commonly used is having understood the total amount of money spent in order for the operation and maintenance of the machine. Therefore, to avoid direct losses, an increasing trend shows using of external companies for repair and maintenance of machine and devices. The package of outsourcing also includes diagnose, maintenance, and transportation as well. Apart from the economic benefit, the outsourcing also includes the risk management, which facilitates the maintenance activities that occurs during hazardous. The occurrence of the accidents is the basic and the commonly used criteria for the reactive measure of the safety of work. These accidents also account for many reasons, and our classification of these accidents is different too. The classification which is most often used is based between technical, organizational, and human reasons. Such classification helps to refer the accidents with reference to the technical reasons of maintenance, repair, and installing, improper safety measures taken during repair and overhaul of the objects, improper maintenance of the objects, defects in the materials being hidden, defects occurs during the construction of the object, improper controlling of the elements, usage of material with improper material with strength, fails to take care of collective safety measure, improper working of signaling systems during hazardous, and finally not attaining the required technical parameters. Apart from this, the reasons which also relate to such problems includes negligence of the supervisions to deviate from work health and safety measures, as well as fails to keep up the regulations, lack of manuals for the operation of the objects, performing machines without having removed the hazards, operators using their legs and arms carelessly in the hazard zone, using the materials without having tested its strength for the required job, also using the materials with proper inspection or the required measures in the hazard zone without the safeguards, the last and also the most significant reasons among statistically are the human errors, which includes lack of attention being paid during the operation, getting startled due to laziness, unaware of hazards being hacked, lack of experience as well as the pace to cope up with work, and also lack of knowledge in handling machines, unaware of rules and regulations, drinking alcohol or taking drugs or psychotropic substances also accounts. It is also very necessary the factors that should be taken care before accidents happen while installing, maintaining and even during repairing of machineries and devices, which enables for preventive actions and also the effective policies to help improving the conditions of the working area. The complex bustle appears to happen when a large industry with large bunch of workers is shut down or turned around. This can be avoided by the sophisticated planning to overcome the shutdown and also to effective return on operation. This shutdown lets you necessitates the proper industrial safety with optimal facility in accordance with the technology and the safety guidelines that can protect your employees and their surrounding environment. Let us consider an example of refining and petrochemical industries that has the effective maintenance services which is capable of involving following things: design, build, engineering, installation and inspection, custom manufacturing, maintenance and repair, fabrication, retubing, 24/7 365, emergency service, project managements, turnarounds, heat exchangers, fans, specialty field maintenance, refractory, refinery maintenance, tank maintenance, repair, shutdowns, bolt torquing, welding, power plant outages. The maintenance company should have personnel having ultra-specialized and experienced skills in order for the smooth functioning of enormous and critical maintenance projects. The turnarounds become very costly for any industry and accounts for almost significant amount of budget, typically between 10 to 20%. During the critical time around the shutdown, a group of skilled personnel are necessary to carry out programs and processes to initiate the adequate safety of the employees and workers in the industry. The safety and the maintenance measures taken by the specialized team should also be able to provide improved quality control and accountability, and also must have access round the clock as well. This will reduce initial capital investment and also reduce the burden on the administration. 1.6 Safety audits. A safety audit is a necessary part which is course of well-planned, documented and independent examination for the local estimation for the standard of controls and also the efficacy of the system intended for occupational health and safety board system. It is a methodology which is proactive for the measurement of health and safety performance of the bunch of people in the organization. It also aids to develop necessary principles needed for the further developments between the individuals in the organizational strengths, with the proper documentation having control of weakness in the organization. It is thus enables to a wide screen for effective planning decisions. Safety audits are designed and implemented with the view for the safety, health and also for the identification of fire hazards. With the help of these surveys made to compliance the regulations and fire codes to detect the unsafe hazards. It is also to be noticed that these surveys also serves the purpose of the concept for self-regulation and co-regulation, which is axiomatic in nature, having advent with the performance standard, and also serves as duty of care phenomena. The audit draws focus on the measurable remarks, recommendations and corrective actions on following 5 questions. 1. Does the program cover all regulatory and best industry practice requirements? If it is being employed, is it effective or not? 2. Are the program requirements being met? 3. Is there documented proof of compliance? 4. Is employee training effective? Can and do they apply specific safe behaviors? 5. Whether appropriate workplace precautions are in place. Safety depends on a schematic diagram of the factors on which safety depends is shown in Figure 1.3. Figure 1.3. Factors on which safety depends. Types of audits. These audits are generally classified in 2 ways. They are internally as well as externally. While internal audits are conducted by a group of skilled personnel within the Same organization. External auditors are outsourced for external audits, internal safety audits. These audits are conducted by either the safety committee members or safety representatives or safety officer, and procedure followed generally going through the records, matching standards with targets and physical observations at workplace. External safety audits. These audits are conducted by external persons for auditing from certified agencies, and remaining procedure is almost same so far as purpose, content, sequence and depth of investigation are concerned. Both types have almost similar lines of actions. The main difference is length method. Practically, internal audit turns subjective since it is about examining one's own self, own organization, own system, own people, etc. Although organizations claim that they authorize internal auditors with total independence. Auditors are selected from neighboring departments. They might have been trained and groomed as auditors, yet they remain internal only.
They can't reveal the weakness of management and put it in black and white. Rather, practically, they are given the task of developing ways and means to hide the weaknesses and highlight the strengths of the organization, as an advocate does for his client. Internal auditing is practically meant as preparation for third-party external auditing. Third-party independent audits are to be conducted by expert agencies comprising well-trained lead auditors, experienced hands, technical experts, legal specialists and others. Organizations must give them full freedom to judge neutrally and independently without exercising any influence from any quarter. Objectivity becomes the key motto, and their disclosures are to be taken as bare facts, based on which further lines of correction and improvements are to follow. This is the right course of actions. It is worth mentioning here that audit should not be taken as a mere ritual or a formality only, but to be treated as a detailed prescription by an expert, independent agency for effecting improvements in work culture and job execution. Let it be a means for curing the ills and health improvement. As a patient gets a health checkup and goes ahead with the treatment prescribed by the doctor, so should the organization act with positivity and vigor for excellence, considering the objectives of safety audit that are mentioned below, validate compliance with established standards, regulations, internal policies and industry-wise standards of practice, pinpoint deviation from designed and planned operating and maintenance route and standards, recognize conditions or operating procedures that may perhaps lead to an accident and substantial losses to life or property. Safety audit is carried out by experts in the respective fields who scrutinize management system, facilities and activities of the organization on safety aspects, assess the prevailing hazards, the level of prevention, protection, and emergency management preparedness, and consequently formulate a recommendation to upgrade safety inputs to avert mishaps and limit consequences. Safety audit is an important phase in industrial sector owing to following reasons. It ensures that management system is functioning in a manner that protects employees, customers, workers, communities, the environment, assets against risks. It is a control mechanism, identification of opportunities for further improvement. Increases safety awareness, greater confidence regarding compliance with regulatory requirements. Safety surveys are intended for the inspection of all types of unsafe physical and environment conditions with the detailed observations. The occupier, the manager of factory, and other workers must provide required cooperation to the authorities conducting surveys. Safety surveys also helps in determining safety and training needs of workers, supervisors as well as managers, etc. Further reports under observations and remedial measures are discussed in joint meeting of all heads and owner of plant. For each observation noted in survey, remedial measures may be suggested. Also, action plan can be drawn for taking up suggested remedial measures within time limits. There are 5 steps of conducting successful audits. 1. Preparing for an audit. Before the audit begins, it is essential to determine the members among the team, as well as what the team will be auditing. Some of the industry approach external consultant who are specialized in safety auditing to avoid the burden. Others depend on the internal to perform audit from different domain within the same company. It is very necessary to choose wisely the members of the team from production line workers, and also the managers, when audit is being conducted internally. If the team members are with more diverse knowledge, the broader will be the perspective. As the production line workers has the in-depth knowledge of the course of action, and someone from outside the company can look after the overlooked issues. Every member of the team should have gone adequate training on how to audit in order to make it successful. Since anybody can audit anything, but the important thing should be accomplished are the scope and the objectives set before the audit begins. This audit also starts with a reviewing the applicable standard and its codes that benefit the audit process, and also the skill of the team members. Apart from this, previous audits can be a beneficial source of information for the team members to review, especially if the set objectives and recommendations are implemented and are working. 2. Conduct the audit. Audits benefits companies to assess and improve their process planning and implementation, which in turn help employees' safety. These audits also play an important role to track the progress to reach the safety goals. As a result, these audits gauge what need to be improved with what is working well in the stream. The execution of audit starts with the reviewing of the written plan, procedures including necessary documents, which could help auditors to set up the baseline for the written process, with the actual action taking place. This audit also takes care of the strengths and the weaknesses in the actual plan that compares both what is written in the procedure and what is happening actually in the production. Interaction with employees of the production line who operates machinery in addition with the audition procedure being followed gives additional insight. Since the employees use the process very often, they can better explain the things fully, not only the operation of the machineries, and also what can be done differently. Interestingly, some auditors simply make notes on the checklists, and others simply make notes on the observation. Because making notes will not meet the requirements as the audits are designed to meet specific objectives, which can facilitate to be established. Therefore, it is best to know the method which best suits to meet capturing the information. 3. Create an audit report and recommended actions. Once the audit is being done, every member of the team should compile the notes made and summarize the report that enables the findings. This should also include the area audited along with the person who conducted it, with the list of the persons interviewed should also be mentioned. The final audit report will be the objective and concise, which will have both positive and negative findings. It actually reflects the findings and perspective of every team member. In addition, the audit will also have the recommendation on the area to be improved based on these findings. 4. Set corrective action priorities. Audits reveal curative actions to be implemented immediately and the minor action that the company can consider in a near future for further improvement. This list might have short or long issues such that each issue needs to be addressed right away. The audit team, with the help of the managers and supervisors, set up the priorities to detect the level of hazards. Highest priority should be paid to those with high risk, followed by the lower risk values. Once the priorities are finalized with the items at high risk, the team assigns tasks with the review date and its completion. It is the job of the team to set up the outline on how to complete the task and record it that will benefit the future audits with ease. 5. Publish audit results. Employees would be aware of what's going well and which part of the machinery needs to be improved. Posting the results of the audits on the website of the company intranet in the appropriate venues will enhance and encourage the transparency among the workers for their safety facility that company has taken up. The audit that is posted will also help everyone understand the changes that need to be implemented and how these changes will enhance their personal safety during the work in the production line. The audit will also acknowledge the every member of team with managers and employee for their effort during the process of audit. These acknowledgements also Encourage having conversation with the goodwill for the future audits. These safety audits are time-consuming with huge effort is paid. However, similar to the processes which rely on the time and effort, the team present the valuable results that push the company's effort towards their employees' safety. This will enable for the company to have proactive safety measures that can avoid injuries, illness and death of the employees. Audits focus on the effective implementation of the safety plans, with double-check the processes, which are accurate on the basis of the procedure that are underlined previously in the audit. Without the procedure being followed, the audit time-consuming and tend not to perform future audits frequently. Just like the preventive maintenance allotted for equipments, audits also helps to fetch and prevent the injuries and fatalities. Figure 1.6. Outcomes of audit. 1.7 Accident analysis. Today's comparative and sensitive environment. Companies look after different techniques to be incorporated to fetch highest benefits. Total quality management, TQM. Just-in-time, JIT. Manufacturing and total employee involvement, TEI, is such good examples of different techniques. These techniques will help in optimization of the processes being used as the asset of the companies. Safety department is one such main part of the company, which has a strong influence on the ARSs, or the responsibility of the employees for maintaining the different concepts in order to meet the underlined targets of the company. Without the support of such departments, including the strategy led by quality and maintenance, there is obviously doubt that safety of the individual has vital role in every company. In recent days, the prior attention of the companies is being the safety of the employees that has become the evil, i.e. which is regarded to be expense, and becomes non-value added amount. Without the companies cannot endure for more time, i.e. by not considering the safety as one of the prime agenda, because the others companies which are considering it will put out the business as a competitive weapon. Investigation of the accidents in the production line is primarily regarded as a fact-finding procedure, which are based on the facts that were not followed, which could also be prevented in order to avoid recurrences of similar accidents. If properly handled, accidents can also be reduced, and that enables the safety and health awareness among the employees and builds affinity between the supervisor and the injured. These injuries and also the illness among the workers can be reduced to great extent by minimizing the hazardous conditions. Although it is to be remembered that it cannot be completely eliminate all accidents. However, it will be easier and cost-effective if it can be reduce and eliminate the hazards than to teach employees to be safe from being injured in the working area. It is significant to note that reducing or minimizing the hazards is important. This can be better accomplished by changing the worn parts and equipments, installing the safety guards, by enhancing the material handling technique, and by adopting less hazardous chemicals. It is also important to rectify the causes and adopting the corrective measures, as is the objective of any accident investigation procedure. Examples of such areas to be probes include unsafe conditions, poorly underlined tasks, inadequate procedures, and lack of accountability. Even the minor injuries that occurred on the floor evoke the usage of incorrect practices, which if corrected could be used to avoid such hazards. Therefore, every minor injury should also be considered and investigated in the same manner as vigor with thoroughness. Ultimately, the principal purpose of the fact findings is the investigations of the accidents. Even the smallest of the smallest factors should be considered, which an important factor in the investigation. Also, the reference from the well investigated on the accidents could also help to prevent such injuries, accidents in future, not only that it can be catered to serve as an opportunity to learn and build the trust among employees. The accidents that occur in industries are termed as industrial accidents. These occur as a result of faulty equipment or machinery, and also due to the negligence of the worker. These accidents can be reduced with proper safety measures and precautions. There will always be some of the valid reasons for these accidents to happen. Also, chances of occurring accidents during running the machine and equipments are also quite often. Therefore, proper training with the prior knowledge among the workers can reduce the danger of accidents, as operation in industry is always a full chance of accidents. Carelessness among the workers also leads to accidents. The number of accidents will be increased if a worker shows negligent behavior under the influence of intoxicants. Classification of accidents. Accidents are classified into 3 categories on the basis of the length of the recovery. 1. First aid cases. The injuries happened due to minor accidents are not considered serious as the worker is given the first aid in factory hospital. As the worker gets medical treatment in the factory hospital can return to start the work. This will not be time-consuming except for the time taken to treat the worker with first aid. Also, there will be no compensation being paid due to minor injuries. 2. Home case accidents. Preliminary aid in treatment is being at the factory hospital and allows the worker to go home for the fast recovery. During this wound will be healed and the worker will be ready to resume his duties. Therefore, worker may lose a shift or day of his duties during the accident. This type of accident also not serves the purpose of compensation for the injured, as this will not fall under Workmen's Compensation Act. 3. Lost time accidents. These accidents are entitled for the compensation from the company. The worker will be allowed to take leave on the work on the issue of accident for a day, and entitled to take many days if necessary. During this the worker will be hospitalized as a result of temporary or a permanent disablement might occur. This leads to an inquiry followed by the investigation. If there exists a difference in causes is found concerning the accident. As an example, if the body part such as hand, leg or any other part is injured or being cut. In recent times, a systematic technique is being implemented to analyze and prevent the process of PDCA, which is commonly termed as Plan do Check Act, and is commonly followed by all the industries in identifying the causes. Figure 1.7. Figure 1.7. The modified PDCA process for a safety management system immediately after an accident. Ensure any injured or ill employee receives medical care immediately. Start the accident investigation process promptly. Maintain conditions at the accident scene, as much as possible. Involve the right people: supervisor, employee, witnesses and others. Form a fact-finding committee in the event of very serious accidents. The details of the information regarding accident investigation, including the name of the injured with respect to the date and time of the injured, occupation held in the company with his task being performed when injury took place, his shift and the department he represent, employee's address, showing his age or date of birth, tenure of his service with the employer, time of the shift started, hospital and the physician name, with the type of injury he underwent, describing his illness with the accident, a summary drawn, contributing to the accident, corrective measures taken so far with persons, statements of the injured person along with the witness, can be presented to showcase how the safety in the working area is being managed and what else is necessary to be implemented. This develops the appropriate justification for addressing the common causes of accidents and its prevention in future. Management review the reports of the investigation made on the accident to ensures to develop the underlined remedial actions. This report on the accident is very informative for the top-level executives to take necessary action. With this they will be informed all the time about the accident. Investigation allows to draw question on why such accident happened and lets them take a serious step to avoid such incidents being happened in future. This further will be followed by the handing over the reports to the authority to take the necessary action, such as maintenance staff. These reports will have photographs or the drawings or other information that give insight about the accident, including the statement of the witness and also the information given by others. The lack in follow-up in the process of the accident investigations reveals the greatest deficiency that create turbulence in rectifying or taking corrective measures that led during the accident. A good investigation report on the accident narrates the specific corrective actions and the person who actually needs to take action and deadline for the completion of the target. This will be followed by the members of the responsible management to follow up in order to ensure the implementation of the deadline with corrective measures. After being implemented, all the actions taken on behalf should be provided with a summary of the sequence, causes and measures taken for the betterment of the working area. Also, every employee should be aware of similar kind of operations. This should be assigned to the supervisor or the members of the team. This will be served in threefold to provide additional safety training, to make operational changes based on the facts involved in the accident, to let employees know that the company cares about their safety and health. Most importantly, the management should encourage the employees' suggestions in regards to the safety as well as health concerning factors, and let them participate in investigation process. Thus, management should seek the opportunity for the employee participation, PDCA, Plan Do Check Act, process. The process is an essential part, as it provides an opted way to analyze the accident investigation, which also acts as acumen to avoid or prevent the occurrence of the accidents both by the company and the government, Figure 1.7. In order to acquire an effective investigation. Therefore, it should approach from the basic causes of the incident to happen, and use data of the previous results. However, availability of enormous theoretical concepts, and also the models that are associated with it, can explain the how and why accidents happen. This provides a platform upon which they can exhibit their expertise to analyze, investigate, and draw the preventive actions against accidents. Among the theories so far used, the three most commonly used are domino theory of causation, system theory, and hazard barrier target theory. Domino theory insights on the consequence of errors that made the accident to happen, right from social environment to the unsafe condition, and from fault or person to the unsafe act of the worker that led to an injury. Whereas the other method of system theory denotes may of the causes that indulge of faulty system components, and finally according to hazard barrier target theory, despite the barriers that have already been introduced to avoid the hazards, but they happen to occur due to repeated exposure of the flaws. The application of analysis technique, such as PDCA, in order to depict and classify the prime causes of accidents, might help to provide sophisticated information, and being a lesson to be learned from the data. The use of PDCA technique to identify the causes for the accidents allows developing an individual model that can be a combination of two or more models in defining the safety management system that incorporates the systematic and practical approach perspective on vulnerable components. The reports on the accidents comprised of experts' decision on the culpable components from the safety management system with basic of the causes of the investigation, human factors analysis, and classification system, HFACS, process. Our recent study on the statistical research has highlighted deeply the human error being the primary factor, that is being the majority of the accidents. This was also suggested by the Analytical Foundation for a Human Factors Analysis and Classification System, HFACS, to characterize the role of human error. Quantitatively, HFACS, being the commonly used tool to investigate the role of human contributions even in the area of the aviation accidents as underlined in the widespread of the evaluation scheme. This study by the HFACS on analytical criteria in a fuzzy atmosphere to investigate the accidents in a consistent manner. Also, the other quantification technique, such as fuzzy analytic hierarchy process, FAHP, is being integrated on the existing framework of HFACS to investigate in a more quantifiable manner the contributions of human error to accidents. After that, the use of pairwise comparison technique allows drawing active and latent failures that can be a cause for the future accidents in the working area of the industries. This is based on the methodology that comprises of group discussion ability of an individual to enhance the performance of the model outcomes. HFACS has become a most powerful tool in analysis of the human factors that contribute to the different types of accidents. The principal aim of the HFACS being used against the traditional method is to depict the accurate reason that led the accident to happen. Accident analysis usually focuses on proper identification of the most important phenomena that emerge in the course of an accident. The analyzed accident models differ in both their level of detail and their scope of applicability. More general models enable a rough analysis of the phenomena only. Since the accident is represented as a series of consecutive events, it is a sequential model. A basic drawback of the sequential models consists of the fact that they only allow one to investigate phenomena that appear directly in the course of the accident, neglecting the indication of accident causes which, by their nature, must have emerged earlier. These causes had exerted their influence before the accident happened, thereby making it possible for the phenomena to follow. Since, first of all, the mistakes made by designers of machines and workstations are to be analyzed, the sequential model is not suitable for our purposes. A relatively large group of accident models comprises those based on the analysis of human behavior under stress. 1.8 Safety training. No business firm anticipate to have a better safety concern without the head of the firm, be a president, chief executive officer, or the owner can explain. The issue of personal leadership with specific activities rely on the safety. A key value is the ultimate priority in the organization. The head of the organization should also communicate to every employees of the organization to understand the safety process and procedures, and also encourage them to participate in safety programs conducted by the organization. Every business will essentially have established a follow-through on procedures and also the practices that every employee is reached with intranet or some other way about the safety and health issues as prime responsibility is as equal as quality and cost effectiveness. Safety and health program is the term used to define the safety measures that has been undertaken in the prospect of combination of procedures, processes with the help of organization policies, including actions and decisions. With the effective leadership and execution of each of the elements in the program are an essential part of safety and health issues, with the safety measures taken in concern of all the employees in the organization, the performance pays off with very influencing profit in the business. It also enhances the production efficiency and morale among the employees, compensation cost for the lower workers, and allows the worker to keep on the keep during the shift. Every organization in the business area confronts a problem of multitude that need to have a treatment on immediate attention. If the problem has not found any solution, it will tempt to overlook on safety health issues also. It is likely to be solved when the accident occurs, keeping in mind the mistakes should not be repeated to reduce the accidents. As a result, the burden in providing the compensation, also the claims made by the accidents, will defer the organization's profit quality. It is the job of every employee to become familiar to the procedures of safety and health issues in the working area of the organization. As these laws are redefined on the basis of duties, actions, and also ensure to have the employees' concern. In addition to this, companies must also be familiar with the government regulation on Environmental Protection Agency (EPA) building codes, as well as the regulation of the fire safety. The following are the well-scripted safe practices in the working area, and are being recognized by every organization for their employees' safety procedures. Provide guidelines for controlling potential hazards. Communicate your company's accident prevention policies. Contribute useful information during training. Contribute useful information during training. Every business, irrespective of its unit capacity and employees' size and its hold, adopt better safety practices and communicate it for the better understanding among the workers. Sometimes, it is also necessary to adopt the special safe work practices in the particular domain or subdivision or department of the company, in order to avoid hazards depending on the nature of work with available technology. The adopted safety procedures ensure to be used as a supplement for other actions taken by the management to build a better workplace with integrity of safety in all domain functions. Not meeting the desired rules and regulations will bring down the potential of the companies in order to achieve its safety performance. It is necessary in developing safe work practices as it will be essential to develop practices and procedures pertaining to specific and reasonable issues. A procedure which cannot be followed will eventually enforce potential ineffectiveness in other concern also. Therefore, giving equal significance, one can effectively remove the hurdle or can control the hazard. Also, it will minimize the need of safety in the working area. The organization with excellent brains will develop the technique to have safe work practices that are involved with company's operation. They may be supervisors and employees who has the basic knowledge of their own work safety of the working area. People interest towards buying increases monotonically when they are aware of the process. Such kind of participation will enhance the quality of knowledge of participants in enduring to reduce the accidents or hazards or eliminate it. Writing the safe working practices with the ease in understanding by effective utilization of a local language will also affect positively. Whenever necessary, remind them of what to do, rather than what is not should be done. As the example, say, use a lifting device to move the, rather than don't lift the device without using a. It is also in practice to give the safest work practices program to the newly recruited or the transferred employees in order to ensure to do their work is being done without any causalities. Also, as mentioned above, training must be a continuous process. It is the job of the supervisors to frequently review the general, as well as the department-wide specific work practices along in correlation with its employees. As the supervisors and employees are mostly involved in performing the maintenance work, so they should be aware of safe work practices of each and every department. Due importance should given to develop safe work practices in order to ensure safe operation of dangerous equipments, as in case there will be only few skilled workers available to operate such equipments, or workers capable of working in such hazards, condition, or environment. Therefore, educating and training will be extremely helpful to have safe work practices. Despite training being the essential part of any operational safety and health program, however, it should not replace the policy to eliminate or minimize the hazards in the work area. Safety and health meetings are important in getting employees actively involved in the company's efforts to maintain a safe and healthful working environment. Safety meetings can involve requesting employee ideas about safety policies and procedures, setting up employee teams to develop safe work practices, or encouraging employees to report unsafe procedures, processes, and conditions. Supervisors also can ask workers for their ideas on how to solve specific problems. The supervisor's ability to develop and conduct interesting and rewarding meetings is only limited by his or her own creativity. If the safety discussion involves an accident or illness, focus the discussion on the facts surrounding the incident, the injury and the causes that allowed the incident to occur. Discussion of a failure to adhere to a safety procedure should cover why such behavior is wrong, the potential hazards, and constructive discussion on how to correctly follow procedures. Discussion involving work being planned should include potential hazards, developing suggested engineering approaches to reduce risk, identifying safety equipment to be used, and developing basic safe operating procedures. This is an excellent opportunity to involve the workers in the planning process. All operating unit members must know they are part of the occupational safety and health team. Recognizing that you count on each one to contribute to the success of the team can stimulate ideas and energies that will help strengthen each person's commitment to making the workplace as safe as possible. Achieving teamwork requires active cooperation and involvement on the part of both the employees and management. Safety and health training provides specific instructions to employees so they can perform their jobs in a safe and healthful manner. Safety and health training also is intended to impart knowledge so workers can identify workplace hazards and initiate changes themselves. Creating interest, commitment, and awareness is the challenge those involved in training must successfully meet. Safety and health training can be put under orientation program when a person is promoted from one department to another department, or while he's learning that new job for which he is appointed for, while in case of temporary transfer to other departments, cross-training considered to be extremely important for safety and health of those employees who are being transferred. Supervisors form a checklist comprising of specific items for discussion, which they find an effective technique and helps them in covering their points during the orientation program. These training methods turn into successful session when there is consistency and confidence amongst number of participants attending the training session. A well-organized, well-planned, and well-executed safety orientation programs results in building a strong foundation for each person's future safety and health performance. It should be confirmed by each supervisor or leading the orientation program that each new employee gets a copy of detailed safe work practices and measures. The supervisor should also ensure that need for safe work practices and procedures are well and thoroughly understood by all the new employees who have attended the orientation program. Following are few steps adopted for conducting effective job safety training program. Briefly explain the main objectives of conducting the safety training programs and also reason why these training programs are so important for any new employee. Once the doubt about why this training is important and what's in it for him or her is clear in the minds of a person attending the program, his or her interest in learning will automatically grow if he or she understands. Categorize each key step of a job by breaking down the total job or process into specific part. This detailed outline of a job or procedure may be able to help and guide the workers in understanding their job nature and related process. Also, this detailed outline of a job involving how safety integrates into each step of the job, workers learn about how to accomplish their work and do their job safely and correctly. Elaborate new workers about the appropriate ways of doing their job or procedure. Simply demonstrating how to conduct a specific job safely is generally lacking. Before proceeding to the next step, trainer should pause at one point every time to highlight the key points. Trainer should encourage the employees to ask questions at each stage so that they are able to clear their doubts related to safety and training at the time of orientation program itself for better understanding. Ask the employees to conduct their allotted job or procedure by describing each and every step in detail about what he or she has to do and also why they have to do. By doing this and allowing an employee to recite and conduct his respective job, this will ultimately let trainer know about whether the person attending the program is able to understand the aspects of safety and health and he or she can complete the task safely. The dedicated trainer must visit periodically to check and see whether the worker is doing well in his job or not, and also to check if he or she has any queries or difficulties in conducting his job. The early follow-up process is a very important procedure as it allows identifying the improper work procedures in an early stage and helps in correcting them, as well as helping employees in developing safe and efficient work habits. Supervisors must conduct safety and health training programs on regular basis for smooth functioning of the job and procedures in a plant. The safety aspects inculcated in the training program might include information related to monthly safety and health meetings, safety training linked to modifications in the work processes or procedures, systematic personal safety contacts, safety training linked to the work nature and safety compliance, which might be about fire safety, emergency actions, lockout to tagout, and hazard communication. Each company or industry should take responsibility of providing workstation that is free of life-threatening hazards for employees. It is important to take measures for eliminate hazards in the work environment. On the other hand, it might be impossible or infeasible to eradicate all the hazards completely through engineering design, guarding or administrative controls. In such cases, PPE, personal protective equipment, might be adopted for safety purpose of employees. Personal protective equipment, PPE, generally comprises of following protective equipment: hand protection, heat or chemical-resistant gloves, face and eye protection, safety glasses, goggles and face shields, head protection, hard hats and bump caps, protective footwear, safety shoes, Rubber boots and metatarsal guards, the personal protective equipment type required during any tragedy or circumstances, will solely depend upon the particular hazard that might occur, the exposure duration, and will ultimately depend upon exposure intensity. In order to safeguard employees against identified hazards, it is important to make employees use of PPE. In order to be effective, the opted PPE should be readily available, should be of correct size, and should be designed properly for the use intended. PPE use ensures and increases employees' safety against damaged or defective equipment. PPE program must be arranged for training employees about the benefits of PPE and is considered as an important part of it. Training session of about 10 to 15 minutes is required regarding safety footwear, safety eyewear, and hard hats so as to elaborate the objectives, policy, responsibilities and procedures. Whereas PPE devices associated with respiratory protection or hearing protection demands requires more extensive education and training, broad information regarding when and what PPE is required, how to adjust and whether PPE, and the restrictions, appropriate care, utilization, maintenance and the ultimate disposal of PPE must be strictly included in the PPE training. Supervisors should ensure and ask employees to demonstrate an understanding of necessities and capability of using PPE properly before they are given permission to conduct works requiring PPE. Employees should be informed about the basis of selection decisions of PPE devices and ensure that employees also get the decision logic used behind opting for particular PPE device. Make arrangement for new training sessions in case of obsolete previous trainings in case where there are changes in workstation or type of PPE used earlier, also in case when there is lack of knowledge or skill predicted from employees' behavior with assigned PPE. The PPE program should be in written form by each company that encloses all the aspects of safety equipment procedures in detail. Safety officer of coordinator of any company is a responsible personnel for assessing companies' hazard sites and sources and will accordingly select the PPE device according to type of risk. Supervisors or team leaders are strictly instructed to check that correct PPE device is available, is in functional condition and is worn by employees correctly. Supervisors should train their employees about how to exchange their equipment and what one should do in case if any problem or difficulty occurs with that particular equipment during functioning. Each supervisor or team leader should be able to assess the hazards and should be able to manage their employees, and then only those supervisors will be titled as effective coach. Supervisor should communicate their employees the need for wearing PPE devices while working in their respective sites via informal training sessions, in informal one-on-one conversation, or by setting example like by wearing hand gloves in front of the employee, by wearing helmet by themselves. New or transferred employees usually begin their work by attending orientation program related to safety and health concerns. Safety and health orientation programs helps in periodically fixing meetings or discussions associated to safety and health issues and ultimately check the knowledge of attending employee by making them doing work in hazard possessing sites, and by checking their knowledge by the way they opt for their respective PPE devices for the same. These activities generally hold very important place for education, training, and communication, as these generally not allow for supervisory contact and discussion with employees regarding safety and health issues. It is suggested that more frequent yet less formal contact with laborers promotes effective training regarding safety process. Supervisors and team leaders gets details of status amongst laborers regarding safety and health by promoting one-on-one communication, and they get a chance to find out what employee holds opinion about safety, assists in clarifying doubts, and get to know their expectations and promote understanding and commitment, due to which benefits stay with organizations as well. When organization is systematic and organized, its productivity and performance are automatically enhanced owing to providing training to employees, opportunity and right to participate during decision-making process. When there is freedom to speech, and employees are allowed to put on their thoughts and ideas in front of team leaders regarding improving safety and health-related concerns, and when employees know that they will not lose their jobs as an outcome of putting their knowledge for enhancing safety and productivity of an organization. The employee and company's safety gets commitment from supervisor when safety aspects are monitored periodically. By making safety aspects and its monitoring as a part of any supervisor's performance, leads to profit of both the company and as well as of supervisor. This process of monitoring is easy procedure, which can be done and managed via little bit of training. A supervisor set aside 5 to 15 minutes in morning meeting or by any other mode and communicates the importance of safety and health to employees weekly, bi-weekly, or at a minimum, monthly. Training can be made for discussing needs to identify various possible hazards, protective equipment for improving process, redesigning workplace so as to do proper risk assessment. If employees willingly participate into the discussion, and supervisors respond to their queries and concerns and inculcate their ideas into the final decision-making, then beginning of trust and personal ownership takes place amongst both the side. When a work environment is built where supervisor and employees both consider safety and health aspects as their duty and mutual responsibility, then performance is improved with least wastage of time, which generally takes place owing to illness or accidents. Supervisor or team leaders can record their information regarding the recent conducted meetings with the employees in a record known as Employee Safety Contact or Observation Record. Supervisor can record or jot down the important points confronted during conversation or discussion done during meeting with the employees, for example pocket cards, that contains record of each meeting for tracking purpose. Supervisor can make use of these safety tools to identify the injury or illness of any employee going through it by using safety observations records, and can solve their problems. Yet there are many companies who confront with increasing workers' reimbursement costs, as well as costs associated to workstation ambience that generally leading to illness or accidents. A variety of factors contribute to organizational safety performance. The culture of organization is also affected by company values and beliefs. Organizational culture aids in recognizing and handling hazards via effective safety methods, which indirectly helps in identifying and eradicating injuries and illness which might affect the organization's safety and health if not solved prior to actual happening. The overall safety and accident prevention is monitored by senior management's leaders and desired actions are taken under their supervision. 1.9 Summary. Safety concept is defined as a state in which risk of harm to persons or property damage is reduced to, and upheld at or below, an acceptable level, through a continuing process of hazard identification and risk management. On the other hand, when we talk about accomplishing safer and reliable design, its whole liability rests on the shoulders of those groups or individuals who regulates and governs the design functions. Industrial revolution elevated the unsafe and dangerous working environments in many factories conditions in which laborers were unaware of the dangers and hazards associated to their workplace or workstation. So an industry providing importance and greatly determining the safety culture by focusing on accident prevention on a priority basis and preventing employees against injury or harm. A company's performance can be escalated by appointing dedicated supervisor for regularly monitoring, devoting and arranging training sessions for making understand laborers, employees and newcomers about safety aspects via orientation programs. This leads to excellent results and directly leads to enhanced performance of industries. These resources assist in enhancing the supervisor's effectiveness in incorporating safety performance into day-to-day functions. Comprising safety aspects as a crucial factor helps in enhancing supervisors' and managers' overall performance appraisals, and it draws a clear picture that organization is dedicated towards managing risks that might occur in day-to-day life and prevents chances of accidents and reduces chances of illness in work environment. There should be an agreement amongst the manager and the supervisor to what activities will be taken into account by the supervisor to forecast the safety issues concerned with the work environment, and proper actions will be ultimately taken by the supervisor to assure the safety and health issues of the work station. Organizations' safety revolves around the safety culture and the culture of the organization. It is important that all the responsible authorities of the organization take part in maintaining incremental improvement in safety and health. Thank you. Subscribe to our channel for more updates, and we will see you with the next chapter.